I'm an education officer at Shepreth Wildlife Park, and today I'd like to talk to you about the importance of connecting to the natural world every day if possible. It only has to be 10 or 15 minutes and I promise you, you will feel the benefits. So I'm out now and I've got no technology with me. I'm listening to all the wonderful sounds of nature, but I'm also looking. Now if you do that 10-15 minutes, you really will feel the benefits mentally and physically. And it becomes addictive, I promise you. I know in this day that we're living in, life gets busy and we think, oh no, I'll do it at the weekend. But we really do have to do it now more than ever, especially the last year we've been living through. We are part of the natural world and we tend to forget that. But if we can try to reconnect to it, we will be so much better off for it. Because also we will appreciate the wonders of it and hopefully we want to do our bit to help it. We can all do a lot to help. Just one thing a day, by picking up one bit of paper, rubbish that you see, will make a difference. If 1 million people did it, it makes a huge difference.
Hey guys, my name is Dean Ward and I work here at Shepreth Wildlife Park just outside Cambridge, and I'm going to talk to you today about Scottish wildcats. Now Scottish wildcats, obviously not from this part of the country but up in the northern parts of Scotland, and their habitat has decreased so much there's just pockets of population now. So Scottish wildcats are sometimes misidentified. There's a lot of tabby cats, domestic tabby cats, and people sort of mix the two up. The Scottish wildcat is a large cat, but certainly they do breed with our domestic cats nowadays. And it's hard to tell what the genetic makeup of all these cats are in the wild. There's lots of studies being going on at the moment about the Scottish wildcat, which is very, very important work. And eventually we hope to release Scottish wildcats into a natural habitat up in Scotland and make sure that they're successful again. One of the main reasons they're disappearing, as I said earlier, is habitat loss. So we destroy habitats, we build in areas they might live, also places where we take down woodland, very important for Scottish wildcats. So they do suffer from deforestation. Also, unfortunately, as I said earlier, with our domestic cats, there's a lot of worry about this genetic makeup as well. So the actual true Scottish wildcats have decreased in population. We do breed them here at Shepreth Wildlife Park. We've got a male and female here, and fingers crossed they did breed this season. They usually breed between January and March every year, and hopefully we've got some breeding done this year as well, which will be fantastic. So Scottish wildcats will generally feed on small rodents, small birds, any carrion that they find as well, so dead animals. And it's important that we don't just concentrate our conservation on the Scottish wildcat, but also their feed source as well. So that's all sorts of rodents and birds as well. So we need to make sure that the food chain is healthy to make sure it doesn't impact too much on the Scottish wildcat as well. They are fantastically intelligent animals, much like the domestic cats, but these guys have to fend for themselves all year round. 365 days of the year they're outside and they're fending for themselves. If you want to learn more about Scottish wildcats, there's some great charities out there who help support them, including the Wildlife Trusts as well, and there's some great conservation work going on up in Scotland at the moment, so do have a look at that as well. And hopefully one day you'll get the chance to go up to Scotland and they have some fantastic viewing areas, and hopefully you might well see a Scottish wildcat one day in its natural habitat. So fingers crossed we can protect this species. They are our only true cat species left in this country that is wild. So we really want to protect those guys and make sure that they're successful again. Thank you very much for listening to this short talk on Scottish wildcats, and hopefully do come along to the zoos and wildlife parks who support that animal and see them in the flesh.
Hello everybody and welcome to Shepreth Wildlife Park. My name is Alice, I'm one of the zookeepers here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a very important mammal species here in the UK. They're a mammal species that's often overlooked. Some people might even find them a little bit scary, but they are integral to a healthy ecosystem here in the United Kingdom. They are the only winged mammal in the world. I'm of course talking about the bat. So did you know that bats make up around a quarter of all mammal species in the entire world? There are over 1,400 different species across the globe, and the 18 different species that we have here in the UK make up around a third of all of our mammals. So the most common bat that you're likely to see in the wild is the common pipistrelle. But what do bats like to eat? Thankfully, in the UK, all of our bat species are insectivores. They like to eat insects. But bats across the entire world will eat different things. They can eat fruit, nectar, amphibians, fish, blood, and even other bats themselves. So our insectivorous bats here in the UK, they use a process called echolocation to find their food out in the wild. Now, how echolocation works is that as a bat is flying around, it will emit a sound, and the sound waves will hit the insect and come back to the bat, going into their ears, and with it will come very important information about the insect, such as where it is, how big it is, and where it's going. So the bat can have an accurate representation of where it is, so it can swoop in and grab it for lunch. Really, really interesting stuff. So why are bats important to us here in the UK? There's a couple of different reasons, really. Number one, I just mentioned about insects. They are excellent pest control. One common pipistrelle in one night can eat up to 3,000 insects. Just think of all the mosquito bites we would have if we didn't have bats to protect us. So thank you for that, bats. They're also excellent pollinators as well. There's lots of different plants, lots of different fruit all around the world that are pollinated by bats, including species of banana, of mango, and of guava as well. So lots of tasty treats there, thank you, bats. Another thing, not so much in the UK, but more in more exotic parts of the world, is that they're excellent seed dispersers as well. In countries where deforestation has taken over, bats are integral in helping to regrow some really important plants by dispersing seeds in their droppings. So bats are really, really useful animals, both in the UK and across the world as well. So what sort of threats are facing bats in the wild? Well, in the UK, one of the biggest things is habitat loss and resource loss as well. As our countrysides are sort of being built up more and more with things like flats and industrial estates and things like that, bats are losing their habitat more and more as well. Thankfully, bat roosts are protected, so anybody that's looking to knock down an old building have to make sure that they're not disturbing any bat roosts by law, which is excellent. Pesticides are also a big thing affecting bats as well. Obviously, farmers use these to protect their crops from insects, but as they're protecting their crop from insects and killing the insects, they're also killing a food source for bats too. Another big thing that does affect bats, which not a lot of people realise, I don't think, is artificial light. I'm talking about things like street lamps and things like that. So as we all know, bats like to come out sort of dusk and dawn or at night time. They're most typically seen around this sort of times. But artificial light extends that period of light for them, so their window to catch food, to catch insects, gets smaller and smaller, and thus that sort of hinders their development process, both for them and for their young as well. So it's not something a lot of people realise, but artificial light does affect bats. Some predators for bats include things like the domestic house cat and some birds of prey, and they're even at risk of being hit by cars on the road too. So what can we do to help bats? Well, first of all, if you find a bat outside or on the floor during the daytime, somewhere where it's not supposed to be, step one will be to grab a pair of thick gloves and a towel, gently try and wrap it and secure it as best as you can, and just place it in a sealed box. Obviously make sure there's air holes and things in there for it. As bats are protected species, unfortunately you can't hand rear it and make sure that it gets better before it goes back into the wild. An expert actually does need to do that. So your next step will be to call the National Bat Helpline. They're really amazing helplines, so depending on where you are in the country, they'll tell you where you need to take it or who you need to speak to get that bat to a safe place. So make sure you put it into a box and then call the National Bat Helpline if you do see one by itself. If you want to have more bats in your garden, let's say, and you want to make your garden a more bat-friendly place, there's lots of things that you can do as well. You can make and put up some bat boxes in your trees to act as roosting areas. You can plant some bat-friendly plants. And even actually building a pond in your garden will attract insects, which will be a really good food source for bats too. Another thing that you can do as well is to remove all artificial lighting from your garden. As I said, that can affect them. And also lock your cats in away at night. So bats are such an important part of our ecosystem here. So I think it's really important that we learn a little bit about them, why they're important and what we can do to save them. For more information about bats in the UK and across the world, do go onto the Bat Conservation Trust website. Absolutely amazing website, do recommend it. They have all sorts of information about bats on there. And if you can, make a little donation to them because they do incredible work all across the world to help educate people about bats and conserve these amazing animals too.
My name's Terry and I work here at Shepreth Hedgehog Hospital. I've worked here for nearly 2 years now, but the Hedgehog Hospital started, believe it or not, about 35 years ago. That was when the first hedgehog came into the rescue centre. But we've only been in this building since about 2012. Now, since 2012, we've actually rescued about 5,000 of our prickly little friends. And if you work that out, that's nearly 2 hedgehogs every single day for getting on for 10 years. That's a lot of little hedgehogs through our doors. Right now we have 20 hedgehogs in at the moment. Because we can't have our lovely volunteers in helping us at the moment, we are limited to the number of hedgehogs we can have in. We limit this number so that we can make sure that each one of our hedgehogs gets the care it needs, and we're not breaking any biosecurity rules, and we're not straining our cross-contamination rules and things like that. So we can go up to about 25 at the moment, but under normal circumstances we can actually take in up to 70 of our little prickly friends with our whole bunch and group of volunteers. That means we can take in a few more. Right now, the 20 that are in here, they've come in for lots and lots of different reasons. So some came in because they're just a bit small and a bit underweight. Some have come in because we had one come in 2 days ago with a broken leg. So that's gone to the vets and had its back leg amputated. We've got one with a little bit of a sore tummy, so it's got a bit of an injury on its tummy. Next door in the vet room, we have some that have ringworm and things like that too. So they come in here, we try and get them all better, and hopefully we get them back out to the wild. Now, if we can't get them back out to the wild, then I'm afraid they will probably end up being euthanized because we don't keep them as pets. They have to go back out to the wild. But not only do we do looking after the hedgehogs here, we also do off-site care for our hedgehogs. So right now we've got 60 hedgehogs that are in what we call home care. So that means that they are in rabbit hutches or in pens, because these guys came into us as autumn juveniles or at the back end of last year. So as much as they were better, the weather was too cold for them to be released. So we put them into rabbit hutches so that they can do their own hibernation. So this way they're getting used to the seasons around them. They'll come back in spring for a check over, and then hopefully they will be re-released again. So we do go through lots of hedgehogs. We've got lots of hedgehog poo around, and even here at the Hedgehog Hospital we don't just clean it, we even sample it ourselves. So we do actually do smear tests on the hedgehog poo for ourselves. That way we can keep our costs down, and we can make sure that treatment happens really, really quickly. So the Hedgehog Hospital is really a very, very busy place. We're open every day of the year, and we open from about 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. So it is always a busy time. We're just about to come up to the time where hedgehogs are starting to come out of hibernation. However, we've already taken in about 5 this year already. So out of hibernation they'll be coming in, and then we've also then go straight into the breeding season. So we'll probably end up with quite a few babies coming, which is always fun. And those guys again will go back out to the wild as quickly as we can get them to go.
So helping the European hedgehog, we can do a lot to help. If we have a garden, open it up. It doesn't have to be huge gaps in your fence, just one the size of a CD is fine for it to get in and out. A hedgehog will travel the distance of 1.5 miles a night, so please get your neighbours on board to do that. If you speak to your neighbour and they speak to their neighbour, it will be fantastic for the whole street to be open for our hedgehogs to travel. That is one thing we can do. We can also make sure we don't leave any rubbish lying around in our garden, because what might be okay for us to leave out is often a hazard to wildlife, and hedgehogs especially get caught in lots of things like nets, and they can go down holes, drains. If drains are left uncovered, please think about the hedgehog. Think about when it's moving around. It can easily fall into things and not get out. Also, if you have a pond, that's wonderful, a real attraction to wildlife. But hedgehogs, they can drown if they can't get out. So make sure there is a shallow area in your pond for it to get out, or a ramp area. Also, you can help them by supplementing their natural diet. If they can't find their usual food, which is worms, beetles, they'll eat slugs and snails, and that's not their favourite. But you can help them by buying the complementary food that is available in shops. Or you can put out dog or cat food. Nothing with fish, because it upsets their stomach. Never give a hedgehog milk. They are lactose intolerant, which means they can't take dairy products very well. It upsets their stomach. So please, always water. Put fresh water out every single night. If you see a hedgehog out during the day, most of the time it means that hedgehog is seriously ill and it needs immediate help. Please do not leave it. Now, if you're confident about being able to pick it up, use rubber gloves. Pick it up gently from around it and pick it up and put it into a cardboard box with some straw or soft blankets. Then take it to your nearest vet, wildlife hospital, hedgehog hospital. Please do that to help it. It will not survive if you don't. Now, the only occasion it's okay to leave a hedgehog is out during the day is when it's been disturbed. If a mother has been disturbed, she will be re-nesting. Now, she will have straw, leaves or grass in her mouth, so that is a good indication that she has been disturbed and she's re-nesting. So it's really important for the whole family to get connected to the natural world. Get children involved. Get them to make insect habitats in your garden. Anywhere that you can find that is free without any digging going on, make it a home for nature. It's easy to do and it doesn't cost much at all, if anything. Find lots of sticks, branches, any leaves that are going, put them anywhere that is safe for it not to be disturbed, and it won't be long before you've got insects attracted to it. You attract insects, you attract all wildlife. You attract all wildlife, it's fantastic for us to see. Now, if you do that, that's fantastic. Watch wildlife quietly, be respectful to it. If you can do that, you have visiting frequently.